Yvette van Sale now just gone through, that looks like she's just gone through Vilakazi Street and climbing up there. But we're now joined in commentary by Lindsay Parry, Coach Parry, and coach of Soweto Marathon. You've been involved with as a vet before as a coach. She's looking really, really good.
Yeah, look, she's looked very relaxed all the way. She went through 10Ks about 30 seconds faster than she did last year, and through halfway pretty much the same pace as she did last year. So and we don't have the headwind that we had last year. So although before the race she said she's really not interested in going for the record, it does look like she's having a pretty good day. So I think she'll get close, if not break that record.
And surprisingly, Coach Parry, both the men and the women's races have gone out at record pace.
And I'm actually very surprised about the men's race that they are actually on record pace, because it's still a really big group and they all look so calm, and it doesn't really look like anybody really wants to go for it or take up the challenge. So the fact they're on record pace and so many of them are together, I think we can really expect fireworks in those last 5 or 6 Ks.
And do you think the earlier start made a difference?
Look, it definitely made a difference. It's very hot now, so and it is hotter than last year, so that may well start to take its toll, but at least they got through at least an hour in pretty cool conditions.
I can't do that, but otherwise I can't hear my commentators. I lean into them. We were saying that Yvette is dropping athletes left, right, and centre. And she really is, if you consider that she had surgery less than 6 months ago, this is a phenomenal run.
And she obviously showed signs of this 2 weeks ago at the gun run with her 72 minutes. And yeah, I mean, it is a short turnaround time, and she is quite hard on herself about how she runs. And so she was saying to me yesterday that she really was feeling a bit sluggish over 10Ks and things weren't quite feeling like they were coming together, and then at the Durban 10K, she had a great run. I think that's where the confidence started to come. I was 72 minutes at gun run, and now she's looking, I mean, you can see on the screen, very calm, very smooth, very relaxed.
It'll be interesting to see what happens if she loses her last male companion. Will she be able to carry on running at this pace? What sort of an impact does it have for Yvette, is it going to have to still have company?
Look, it helps in many ways. Like, in that scenario there, you can see that guy is hanging on to her. He's going to hang on to her as long as he can. But even though, she's driving the pace and doing most of the work, it's still nice to have someone to fall into a footfall with, having someone on your shoulder. Once there's nobody, then you've got nothing to think about except how you're feeling. And in a marathon, particularly after 35 Ks, you start trying to find reasons why you don't need to push quite as hard.
Well, Tutu, you've run this race before the other way around. 1:43 into the race, what were you feeling? What were you thinking?
Well, I wasn't as fast, not as fast as the vet. So at 1:43 into the race, I was probably about 22, 23 Ks in, and I was hating myself at the stage. I was wondering why none of my friends had been smart enough to say, "Guy, don't do this. Don't run a marathon is far." But I was also severely underprepared, undertrained, didn't do enough mileage.
Yvette there making the break. She's dropping her last male companion. You've got a 34-minute 10K PB. That's about 2 minutes off what she's running. So you should be there or thereabouts.
Are you slowing off this marathon idea? It's not happening.
Well, whilst we try and persuade Tutu to do this marathon idea, Yvette van Sale is having an absolute blinder of a race, and it almost looks to me, Lindsay, as if she's injected a pace here.
Yeah, I think you could see that guy just started to drop off the back there, and I think she
And here we go, 10 kilometer coming in. That is Desmond Mukhubu, trains with Hendrik Romano, who's done phenomenal work with the athletes there at Zoo Lake. Desmond Mukhubu obviously was at the World Championships and riding for Olifantsfontein. Very, very popular athlete here as he crosses the line. and wins the men's 10 kilometer in emphatic fashion.
Yeah, and there's absolutely no one in sight around him.
Look, and that's a pretty quick time. Under 31 minutes for 10 Ks on this route. And those last 3.5 Ks are pretty fast. We've got second athletes coming across the line now too, also low 31. So actually very impressive times we're seeing today.
And Desmond Mokgobu's time was 30 minutes and 38 seconds. So very, very good time for this course.
They're coming in thick and fast right now on the 10K. So Desmond Mokgobu really ran a really good race there, as you say, sub 31. But this is par for what we expected in terms of winning times.
Yeah, over 10K and at altitude, yes, we are expecting 30. That's generally the winning times that we get. But this particular course with the last 4.5K is almost all uphill. Yeah, I was expecting something between 31 and 32 as the winning time today.
Andries City there taking the first junior title, and hopefully we'll be starting to see more and more juniors coming through the ranks. This is a hard race, this is a hard course, not much to read into that time, but hopefully we're seeing a resurgence amongst the juniors in the 10 kilometers.
But you have to look to your juniors for the future of the sport in your country, and there's a couple of academies around the country now that are doing really, really good work. You mentioned Hendrik Ramala just now, Desmond's coach. He's bringing through a couple of youngsters at the University of Pretoria. They've got an academy there that's putting through some youngsters. Fordham High School has an academy where they're bringing through quite a few middle and long distance. So I think at the moment our juniors are looking pretty healthy. I'd love it if we could find a few more females, but yeah, the next 5 or 6 years are looking good if we can keep them all keen, interested, and in the sport.
And we do have depth of running in this country. It's just retaining that depth and coaching that depth to reach the heights as they become senior athletes.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and you know, hit the nail on the head there. It's getting them all good, consistent, effective coaching that will allow them to stay in the sport and carry on working hard. Because once you move out of the junior ranks, you know, it takes 2 or 3 years before you start knocking on the door against guys like Stephen Mokoka, Elroy Gallant. So it's keeping the guys interested so that they can close that gap.
Because that is quite a big gap up when you're talking about the guys like Mokoka and Elroy.
Yeah, I mean, in the 21 we haven't seen for a while, but I mean, Elroy is absolutely blitzing that field. He is a world-class performer, but those are the type of people that our juniors have to aim to emulate.
While Elroy is one of the big names, another big name is a man called Desmond Mokgobu. He won the 10 kilometer. He's down on the finish line with Temogo Basekla as Glenrose Kaba coming in to win the ladies' race, defending her title. Unbelievable running, a fantastic year by Glenrose. We have to turn around and say once again, this has to be her breakthrough year.
Yeah, look, she really is doing well. I think moving up to the 21. She's always been a strong cross-country runner, so that tells us that she's going to be good on the road. But she's running some really quick 10K times too. And I'm very excited to see in the next 18 to 24 months if she will go a little bit longer and move up to the marathon.
Well, we're expecting expecting the leaders of the 21 to come and soon. That is, looks like it would be Elroy Gallant. He was certainly in command and in control. But Glenrose Kaba having a fantastic run in the women's 10K. And that is Namakwe Nkasi coming through there for the half marathon. As he is a popular runner here in South Africa. Did we miss the half marathon now or what? Yes. 3 are in already. Are you sure? Yeah, that guy there. Where's Elroy?
So Elroy Gallant came through in the half marathon, winning in 1 hour, 4 minutes and 53 seconds, which is a superbly quick time for this course.
Yeah, look, 64, and funnily enough, bumping into him this morning for the start, he said to do anything spectacular today, but that lasted for about 5 or 6 minutes, and he broke away. And yeah, I mean, 64, sub 65 here. Last year the winning time was around 65:30. I mean, I can feel now that it is pretty hot, but he is in really good shape, and I think it's not long before he makes the breakthrough in the marathon.
Okay, so Vince, are we doing a Desmond interview now, or what's going on? Winner of the 10K, Desmond. Well, back out in the marathon, and it looks like the field is beginning to splinter up here. I can't see Benedict Moeng as he just dropped out that leading pack.
Yeah, look, unless he's tucked in at the back, then I think he has dropped off. Is that him there on the left-hand side, peeking his head out? It looks like he's maybe just shielding himself there, but we'll have to wait until we get a cleaner shot.
So we've got the leaderboard at 33 kilometers. They went through in 1 hour 48 and 35. The projection there now is for 2:18, so they've slowed down quite a bit.
Whilst the men have gone through 33 kilometers, Tebogo is down on the finish line with Desmond Mukhubu, the winner of the men's 10 kilometer here at the Soweto Marathon.
Yeah, so we're seeing a fairly typical pattern now developing.
Desmond, you came back in 2019 to do what you did.
Okay, well, we're back now with the men's race. The leading contenders here. It does appear to be splitting up quite dramatically now.
Yeah, I think it's gotten to that stage of the race where we're hitting the climbs, and he's... So yeah, we're seeing a typical pattern that develops at the Soweto Marathon, where they go through halfway pretty fast, and that's largely because the first 13 Ks of this race are really, really quick. Hard come in the last 8 kilometers, so now we're seeing them start marathon pace, and I can't stress enough how much the heat is also playing its part.
We just congratulating the Springboks again, once again, but we're going to be right back after this short ad break.
Make your money work harder for you with an Old Mutual Money account. It's the card that lets you invest in a unit trust every time you spend. Just set, swipe, and automatically save. Simple. Welcome to the smarter way to save and manage your money every day. Sign up online today or visit any Old Mutual retail branch or SMS apply to 44964. The time is now to make your money work for you with the Old Mutual Money account.
And the half marathon race is hotting up out there on the marathon itself, and it is looks like we're going to have the first lady coming in for the half marathon, and the run is still streaming in here on the finish line, but it is beginning to get really, really hot now. I mean, we're sitting in the stadium here. We've thankfully got an umbrella now, but the stadium does make it hot. What is it like out there now for those athletes who are not chasing the prize money and not in the leads, who's still not even at halfway? It must be pretty tough out there.
Look, it will be difficult, and one of the things about this route is that there really isn't anywhere to get out of the elements. There's really not a lot of shade, so people will be getting hot. They should be keeping themselves nice and wet, and if you can keep your skin cool, it make a big difference to your core temperature, and that's really what they should be focusing on, is at every water station, putting cold water around the neck and in particular the forehead, and that will help them to manage that heat much better.
That looks like Glenn Straba there for the winner.
With me is Glenn Rostawa, the winner of the 10 kilometers in the women's category. Glenn, you won last year, you came back again this year, you won again. What a season you're having. Can you tell us a little bit about your race today and what are your plans for the rest of the season?
I can say the race was very good. I was so very relaxed all the way. Hopefully I wanted to run 33. Fortunately I did not run it, but hopefully I'm very happy about the race of today because I was on the rest. For now, I think I'm done. My season is done. I raced too much races, so I need to get rest so that I can do my best for next year to avoid injuries like this year.
Thank you so much, Glenn Rose, and well done for your race today. And good luck for the rest
Well, back now with the men's race, and it really is beginning to hot up. Single file, as they say, Indian fashion. This is pretty much where the race is starting to happen.
Yeah, as soon as you see guys going single file like that, you can tell that people are struggling to hang on, and somebody is putting in a surge. They're just coming to the end of one of the last 3 tough climbs. So yeah, I think you'll just slowly but surely see attrition happening now as one runner after another drops off.
Okay, so leading the pack now is David Maru from Nedbank Kenya. It looks like he's broken the group up, and we're down to 4 athletes.
We're really looking now at the fight for the podium. And you can see a little bit of daylight starting to develop even between first and the second and third runner there. So I know that doesn't look like much, but when you're running and that gap just starts to go, the effort to close that just gets harder and harder as the race progresses.
And runners do fall off quickly. Once the gap starts, it's almost instantaneous. You could be holding on for 20 Ks, and once you lose 5 or 10 meters, you just fall straight off that pack.
You know, it's exactly that, and you just, as soon as mentally you feel like, and look, as we are discussing that, you can see the runners are just starting to slide off, and I think we are seeing the race-winning move here.
Speaking of race-winning move, this winning move was done pretty much from the gun by the look of it. Unless something drastically happens, I cannot see Yvette losing this.
No, look, no one's going to catch Yvette. She is starting to at least look a bit human. She looks like she's taking a little bit of strain as she goes up that climb. And what she'll be doing now is looking ahead of her, seeing the runners, most of them male, ahead of her suffering, and she'll start making targets and saying, I want to catch that guy by this time. And she'll start to use little tricks like that just to motivate herself to get over the top of the climb.
But she is looking very strong. You don't look good 2 hours into a marathon. That's very difficult, but she's looking very, very strong. She's working hard on the climb, but she's catching all the men, and she's just slingshotting past them.
Yeah, and again, you can see, particularly in her shoulders, that she is still pretty relaxed. So, yeah, and this is probably the hardest climb on the course that she's doing. She's two hours of hard running in. So, yeah, I mean, you are going to be taking a little bit of strain, but really relaxed in the shoulders, still looking like she's in control of things. And I think she's probably just thinking to herself, get to the top here, and then there's one more downhill that she can really catch up some time, and she's probably waiting for that and then going to go for it.
She's certainly caught up with a number of the male runners, so she was dropping a lot of the men early on. She's now trying to catch them. That'll also help because she's got a string to pull herself in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I call it playing Pac-Man. When you're feeling quite good and there are people ahead of you, I imagine that I've just eaten one of the power balls in the corner, and now I've got free reign to go and eat as many runners as possible. And that's basically my favorite game in the second half of an ultra or a marathon.
So we could start calling Yvette now Miss Pac-Man or Pac-Woman, and it's actually quite incredible to see how, I mean, she's going for a hat-trick of wins. This is a big deal. We were speaking earlier on, we would love to see her race in the shape she was in last year at an international race. What she did last year, in my mind, that's definitely a sub 2:13. It's almost a sorry state for Yvette that she's not able to get that international race.
Look, it's difficult to understand why, but I think it's because when you're applying to get into these international races, they don't take into account that you ran at 2:33 at 1,700 meters above sea level in 25 to 30 degree heat into a headwind. You know, they don't take those things into account. So, yeah, she certainly deserves to run an international marathon, and I think if she were to get into a race like Valencia or Berlin, you know, a race that's known, cool conditions and flat, I'm almost certain that she can run up to 2:26 on a marathon. And you can see, look at her now. I mean, she's gone over the top of the hill. You can just see how smooth she is. She's opening up her stride again. So she really wasn't taking that much strain up that climb. She was just saving her legs for when the route profile gets a little bit easier and she's taking off.
Well,
yeah, she's basically projected to run very similar time to what she ran last year. So she's out there having another cracking run. And you know, the other thing we have spoken about it. She is trying to use the other men to kind of motivate her and chase them. But the reality is she's done it on her own. She's run 2:33, 1,700 meters on her own.
Well, that's the prize money. That's what's at stake as the men's race is now really beginning to unravel. Only 3 athletes left in it, and they too are beginning to look a little bit ragged.
Surprised that they managed to close up onto him. It did look like he was going away from them on that climb, but as the profiles eased off a little bit, they managed to come back together. But yeah, looking at this, I think David Maru has got this one. He's stronger than they are on the climbs, and I think when it's time to go, when we hit, well, look, we're into the last 20 minutes of the race, so I would say in the next 10 minutes or so, we can expect the winning move, or I thought it would be made. I really think we can see that in the next 10 minutes.
But it's definitely down to these 3 runners to the podium. But David Murray does look very, very relaxed. He's dictating the pace, and that's what you want to be doing at this stage. You don't want to be hanging on and trying to figure out what the guy in front is doing. And we're probably about, 37 Ks into the race now?
Yeah, exactly. And that's often in a marathon that you can tell who is making the surges, because that is generally the strongest athlete. And when you come to a sprint finish in a marathon, it's not necessarily the guy with the fastest leg speed that wins. It's the guy who's the freshest, the guy who's the strongest. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think he's looking easily the most comfortable in that pack, and I'll be surprised if they are still with him when they enter the stadium. It'll be fun for us to watch if they are.
But what goes through a mind of a runner at this stage of a race?
So, you know, we were saying just now that it's often the runner that's making the surges, that's the one that's dominant. But what we saw at last year's Comrades race was actually the opposite unfolding, is that sometimes mentally you keep telling yourself, if I can just hang on for 1 more kilometer, maybe this guy will show a weakness. And what can sometimes happen is that your confidence starts to grow because you feel like, geez, I really am struggling to hang on, but I am hanging on. And so there is a little bit of confidence that often comes. But yeah, we see the athletes running second, third are actually looking behind them. That's also another little telltale sign that tells you they're starting to settle for the podium or actually hoping, I hope I can hang on for second or third here.
Well, David Maru looks like he is certainly pushing the pace now. We'll see what happens as he starts to make a big move. We'll see what happens when we come back from this ad break.
Pass on my culture,
to break new ground,
to make my name.
It's time to make a champion,
to make my mark.
It's time to fly. The great things you do tomorrow start with the small steps you take right now.
The time
is now.
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 the
time is now.
It's time to take that step with Old Mutual.
And then there were two, and it looks like race is really on here as David Maru is certainly putting down the hammer and driving this race at this point, trying to take control of it. And yet again, another one of the athletes is being spat out the back.
Yeah, and as soon as the gradient goes, he moves to the front, puts the pressure, strings them out. And look, if he's not feeling anything, if he is feeling tired right now, then he really should take up poker, because he is looking very, very relaxed in the face, very calm, very in control. So yeah, if I was going to do any sports betting, I'd be betting my money on him right now.
Well, he threw out his finger a little bit there, almost as if to indicate, hey, come, help me out here a bit.
I think that's a little bit of gamesmanship. I think he's saying, hey, listen, but if you want a bus ticket, come and sit at the front of the bus.
But we are approaching the finish at 2:06 on the clock. We're expecting about 2:18 or so for the finish.
Yeah, so they're probably inside the last 3 kilometers here. So yeah, I mean that when you're running at the speed goes very, very quickly. So we should have them coming through in the next, I'd say, 10 minutes maybe they're 3.5 k's from the finish. Looks like he's dropped his shoes, so I don't know if he started without shoes or if his shoes were just hurting him, but that's an unusual sight to see someone running 42 k's without shoes on.
Well, Ramolefa Mochela looks like he's running barefoot.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we were just commenting on that, and I was just wondering if he'd started without shoes on or if he's taken them off because of blisters, because this is an unusual sight in a marathon.
And that's very, very hot tar.
Yeah, that's it too. As the race goes on and we now approach 8 o'clock in the morning, that's all hotter.
Well, you'll see a little bit later, around about the 4:30 cutoff mark, a bus coming through, and that's the part of the barefoot campaign, and they are running against for rape victims basically, and we'll show you as they come in. But out up front, David Maru is still in the lead, but he doesn't look as fresh anymore from 2 minutes ago.
No, and I guess that's the commentator's curse, but it also gives you an example. It also gives you an example of how quickly things can change in the marathon, and that's again what I was talking about earlier, is that sometimes even when you're struggling, you just think to yourself, if I can hang on here for another K, maybe, and we have the roles changing now, where he now becomes the hunter rather than putting the pressure on. So yeah, showing me that I don't know anything about running.
Well, Debeko Dakamodasa now taking control of this race, and David Maru looking a little bit worse for wear, but still working together. It looks like they are still working together. They are maybe racing each other, but it does look like they are helping each other.
This is starting to look like the 12th round of a heavyweight boxing match, where we're going to see some counter surges, but definitely both of these guys want to win it. We may have given it the gold medal away, but neither of these runners is giving anything up.
And they're still running side by side. Probably about 40 k's now into the race. They're side by side, pushing each other, working hard at each other. David Maru just had a look behind him. I wonder if that means he's feeling the strain a bit.
Often at this stage of the race, the reason why the runners will have a quick look back isn't always because they are worried about the guys catching them from behind, but they want to start assessing how much cat and mouse they can afford to play. Can they start running tactically and saving their legs for the sprint, or do they just have to keep the pressure up because the guys behind are too close? So that's often what's happening at this stage when people are looking back over their shoulders.
That's third and fourth right now. So big gaps appearing in the men's race, and it looks as if once again it's going to be foreign domination here in the men's race at the Soweto Marathon.
Yeah, it does look like that, and they've hit the last downhill on the route, and you can see all of them basically trying to get some momentum, get the speed up, get the legs turning over, and then they'll have a 2K climb that'll take them up to the stadium for the finish.
The designers of this courses are not very kind to runners, are they? Putting a steep climb at the end of a race.
Yeah, look, it isn't a kind finish, but remember, we are starting and finishing at the highest points in Soweto. So really there is no other way. It doesn't matter where they take this route. You're going to start going downhill and you're going to finish coming uphill.
Well, the only way to get around that is to do laps around the stadium, inside the stadium, which is flat. So that then is the long climb up towards the finish, the calabash, and there you can see very, very accurately. This is where it happens. This is the climb that the athletes are on, and that's going to take its toll.
Yeah, exactly. As people drive into it, so they'll get to that traffic circle, and from that traffic circle, that's it. It's going up. This is the race for third and fourth. Developing on the road, so this is really cool. There's a couple of little battles. They're just going over the bridge, so from this point it's uphill to the finish. And that is a fairly typical pattern in races, but it's not that typical of Soweto. At Soweto, we don't normally see the runners staying together for quite as long, and that's why when you originally pointed out that they were on record pace, I was actually surprised, because it looked like they were running a more tactical race, but obviously a fairly quick race today. So. Look, or personally, I think there's too much to do, but I'm watching this now, and we obviously missed a little bit when the cameras cut away, but I have a feeling that he may well have caught them on that downhill, and that we are actually watching the race for first and second. And if that is the case, we've seen an example of an athlete that realized the pace is just a little bit too hot, has dropped off the pace, started to feel good again, and is really charged through to come and. Yeah, I mean, again, because of the colour, I'm not 100% sure if we're watching the race for the win, but it is starting to look like that.
I think that is David Murray.
Yeah, so then we watched an incredible race unfold actually in the last 5 kilometers, because we saw a ding-dong battle going on up front, but it does appear as if someone has come from behind and is now going to 1 kilometer to go, so we should see the runners coming in here in roughly 3 minutes 15, possibly with this climb maybe 3:20, 3:25, but
so if that's 1 kilometer to go, it means that Shadrack Camboyd's record is potentially under threat. That's 2:16 plus change from
yeah, so again, I don't think they'll make it unless they're extremely fresh, because of the nature of that slow drag all the way up to the finish line. But as you said, that's a lot closer than we were predicting 15 minutes ago.
But they've really been at it from the start, and it's quite impressive how they've maintained that pressure, the pace, because at the start they went out at an unbelievable pace for the first 10 Ks, and they actually haven't fallen off as much as we might have expected, given how warm it is now.
Yeah, given how warm it is, and given how the gradients of the race has changed. But now we can see them looking around again, trying to assess how strong he is. I think basically the decision at this point in time is, when do I start going for the finish line? Because if I go too early and this guy sits on my shoulder, then he can get the edge on me in the sprint finish. Or if he's looking around and maybe thinking, look, I can see in this guy's eyes that I'm a bit stronger than him. So we're just seeing a little bit of cat and mouse developing, and that will have an effect on whether the race is actually possible or not. And of course, the third place athlete can't be forgotten about in the cats and mouse, because he could actually bridge up to them if they start thinking about the sprint too early. They're about to swing left, and that will take them pretty much into the stadium. So we literally are within a minute and a half of them coming into the stadium.
So that's if they're within 90 seconds or so of them coming into the stadium. Course record is not necessarily we're not necessarily on course record, but we're not far off either.
No, and we're a lot closer than we were discussing when they were 5 or 6 kilometers out. And I think the fact that it stayed a race all the way to the line is what's bringing them back and so close to breaking this record.
And now David Maru has, after looking a little bit worse per way about a minute ago, has pushed back into the lead, and he's putting the hammer down.
Well, Modesta now seems to be struggling, and this to me looks like the charge of David Maru.
Yeah, it's actually been quite incredible watching this unfold. I mean, it is why I love running so much, but we are really seeing him going away, streaking for the win, and it's actually really incredible to watch. After 42 kilometers of punch and counter punch, we finally have our winner.
And this is decisive. This is very, very decisive. He's put on, 20 meters in no time at all.
Yeah, that 20 meters would probably be 7 or 8 seconds, and at this stage of the race, that's nearly impossible to close.
It's quite incredible to see just how in that last kilometer, when somebody actually throws in a massive surge, how it just takes the wind out of the sails of the rest of the competition.
Yeah, so it's the Kebo who's actually made it. He was looking really, really ropey going up the climbs with 5 or 6 Ks to go. But yeah, like you said, 3 or 4 seconds a K faster than everyone else really does make a big difference, especially in these closing seconds. And there is also that sort of element of just knowing, I can't sustain this. So you also slow down that little bit, and suddenly a gap of 5 or 6 seconds opens up.
Well, course record long gone. Projected time probably around about a 2:18, maybe around about a 2:19. So pretty much on par what it's been in the last few years.
Yeah, so they probably weren't quite as close to the stadium as we thought they were, but 2:18 is a pretty good time. Again, 1,700 meters above sea level. It is a really, really hot day. So I think in these last 10 kilometers, that would have definitely taken its toll. But it's been an exciting race, and Soweto does have a habit of producing some exciting finishes.
Well, into the finish area. This is the stadium, the FNB Stadium here in Nasrec. And this race certainly does look like it's completely and utterly sewn up.
And we're bringing our winner in to the finish. As we expected, about 2 hours and 18 minutes.
Well, he's in the tunnel now, which means that he'll come out of the tunnel, make a short right turn, and then it's a short 100 or so meters to get onto the finish line. And here you go. Here comes your winner out of the tunnel, down into the finish straight. And it is going to be a win for the Ethiopian.
But he's still so I think that was a tactical masterclass. I think we thought he was hurting. He wasn't hurting. Got the second for us today.
So Debeko Dakama Dasa of Ethiopia wins the 2019 Soweto Marathon in 2 hours, 18 minutes and 35 seconds.
That time, of course, still unofficial, still needs to be ratified, but a really, really solid performance as they start to stream in right now. And it's quite intriguing to see how the top 4 are so very close to each other.
Yeah, so although it looked like they were very far apart and those breaks were decisive, yeah, they all kept the pressure up. And they have the top 5 guys, I think, that are going to finish under 220. So really, really good day of racing today.
Running 42 kilometers barefoot takes some doing as they start to stream in, still under 220.
This is a race with a lot of depth. I make that 7 or 8 guys under 220.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's... I'd like to go back and have a look in the records, but I do think we've watched the highest quality Soweto Marathon yet. that's a lot of guys running sub 220 on this course. So we have been treated to some exceptional road running today.
Well, as it stands right now, Debeko Dakama Dasa winning the 2019 Soweto Marathon in 2 hours 18 and 35 seconds, and that of course is unofficial. Second was David Maru, third Rafela Mega Madesa, fourth Mujad Haridin Sraj, and fifth Lebenyan Koka, former champion here. All of them under 2 hours and 20 minutes, and that is an incredible performance in terms of sheer depth on this finish line.
Yeah, so now I guess we'll focus our attention back to the ladies' race. And I guess the excitement there isn't really around the race that's developing, but it's how close can Yvette get to the record.
And as you saw at 33Ks, she was still on track to run not quite the record pace, but close to a record.
Yeah, and we did see in the men's race that was around about the point where they started to fall away from record pace. So it is a hard slog. There we have Yvette, all on her own now. No one behind her. Hopefully some people that she can see in front. She is starting to just hunker down ever so slightly, so you can see she's in the business end of the race, but also in her mind she knows less than 15 minutes to go. I've got this, and she'll be driving towards the line.
That support that she just got there when you're running in that zone and you are struggling and you're running hard, when people come across and give you that shout, that cheer, that gives you a good adrenaline rush though.
Absolutely, it really feels good, and it's probably one of the key features of the Soweto Marathon. You know, they don't have the same crowd volumes as some of the other international races, but there's very consistent support all the way along. Small pockets of people dancing, cheering, shouting for you, and it really does keep you going, and it gives you these little boosts as you're going along.
Well, first South African across the line was, in fact, Nsidiso Pakati of Hollywood's Bets. He finished 7th, 2 hours 19 and 45, 1 minute and 10 behind. And yet another Lesotho athlete, Mabotile Lepopo, coming through, just over 2 hours and 27. Justin Cheshire, the Kenyan, who was doing much of the hard work in the beginning, finishing 9th. Jobo Katuane, one to look out for. Finishing there in 8th as they start to stream in to the Calabash here at Nasrec for the 2019 edition of the Soweto Marathon.
When you look at that leaderboard, 9 men, the 9th place is 2:20.58, under 2:21. That really is incredible depth for this race.
Yeah, we've seen a great race, and that does also show us that although people were dropping off that big group, most of that big group actually went on to run pretty good races today. And yeah, I mean, the depth, we were talking about it earlier, that the depth in running is improving. Most of those are foreign athletes, but that also is good for our running, to get these foreign athletes coming and pushing us to running better times locally.
Well, that first 10K in 31 minutes, we all said it was a bit fast, but that 31 minutes certainly, I believe, has made sure that we've got this depth of guys finishing in under 2:21.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. And at the marathon, although it is an endurance event, you really do need to have excellent basic speed if you want to make a career out of it.
Yeah, as you say, these guys aren't running slowly at all. They're running sub 320 per K. That's some seriously shifting pace.
And for people listening, I mean, if you want to know what that means, go and stick your treadmill in your local gym at 20 kilometers an hour and see how long you can stay on the treadmill for. Because that's what these guys more or less did for 42 kilometers.
And still they're streaming in. 2:25 is about around the corner. Yvette van Zyl not far away. And whilst Yvette van Zyl makes her way through to the stadium, we're going to go down to the finish line. Tebogo has the winner of the women's 21 kilometer, the half marathon.
Marathon in the ladies category, Caroline Mandu from Zimbabwe, as well as the second place lady Rudo Mundera. Caroline, tell me, how did you find the race? And since it's almost the end of the year, where to from here for the rest of the season?
First, I want to thank God for giving me the power. I came first. The race was very tough, but I want to thank God for giving me the power to win this race. I wish next time I'm coming, and I want to defend this.
And will you be doing the marathon anytime soon?
No, maybe when I'm 28, not now.
Okay, thank you so much, Caroline. And I have Rudo, who was second today. Rudo, how did you find it running in the streets of Soweto? And also I'm going to ask you, where to from here? We've seen you are a regular in the South African running scene. So how was the race today, and what is the plans for the rest of the season?
Okay, firstly, I would like to thank God for this day, because today it was tough for me, because like last week I did run another race in Zimbabwe. So I just want to thank God, because this race, it was tough for me. But anyway, I would like to thank God for this race. So it was good. I did enjoy the race. And also, this is my second race to the finish. I'm about to finish my season for the road race.
Okay, thank you so much, ladies, and once again, congratulations.
And Yvette van Zyl is out on her own and not that far away from the stadium. The course record, remember, 2:33.43. I don't think she's going to get that course record, but she will come pretty close. And Yvette van Zyl being joined by the local residents from Soweto and asking them just not to get too close. They obviously do want to be on camera, but that is disruptive to an athlete.
Because if anyone catches her heel or knocks her over, that could be quite detrimental to her race. But she's looking very, very good. I mean, we don't know exactly how far she is from the finish. Maybe 2 to 2.5 kilometers. I don't think the record is on, but maybe 2:35, 2:36, which will be an amazing performance for Yvette after the year that she's had.
Well, it doesn't look as if she's that far away from the finish line now. It looks as if she'll be soon be making a right-hand turn and then coming close to the stadium.
Look, I wish we had an actual kilometer marking, because, with the best part of 7 minutes for her to get into the stadium, it looks like she's going to push that record very, very close. I can see now that she's feeling a little bit heavy in the legs. So as you were commenting earlier, returning from surgery, probably now this is where that short turnaround time is starting to take its toll a little bit. But wow, what a phenomenal run we've seen from Yvette van Zyl, proving without doubt that she is one of South Africa's best ever female distance runners.
I'd almost say that Yvette has underperformed according to her potential. She's had a bit of bad luck in her career. 2:33 on this course last year. We said if she had been in a flat course, that would have been a lot faster. But for somebody like Yvette to make this a hat-trick of wins, she's now becoming an institution in Soweto, which is also quite an achievement.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to do well in local races. Yes, we'd love to see Yvette running in an international race and maybe getting to 2:26, but you also have to make a living out of the sport. She does pick her races smartly. She doesn't race a lot, but when she runs, she tends to win. She wins more often than not. I believe that after this operation, it's going to actually allow her to get quite a few years of really good running, and I think the best of Yvette is still to come.
Well, if the best of Yvette is still to come, that's pretty ominous. She is hurting, though. You can see the pain on her face. She is grimacing. The shoulders are a little bit more tense, but she is still working very hard.
And she is, but she's pushing on. I mean, she's got a massive, massive lead. It was 7 minutes at 33 Ks, so there's nothing to worry about runners coming from behind her. This is just Yvette racing to the finish and trying to get the fastest time she can.
So at this point in time, it's the win is in the bag, but it's racing for pride at this point.
Yeah, she is racing for time, and we can see that she's pushing. I think she's just gone past the kilometer board. So, yeah, I think the record today is not gonna happen. But yeah, having run this race again largely on her own, 6 months after surgery, mother of 2 boys, they keep her busy. She really is a phenomenal athlete, and she really has had an incredible day today.
Well, she did say, and we mentioned this earlier, she did say that if she can run so well, Soweto, after popping a baby, she can turn around and run a really good run after surgery. And she's proven the point. She's the hard lady of running in South Africa.
And never doubt when an athlete tells you that, right? She's shown today what a strong character she is. It's been a year of adversity, it really has for Yvette. But she's pulled through. She ran a great half marathon two weeks ago. And today she's just basically sped away from her competition. No one in sight. It's been her race from the beginning. She's been dictating. It's a phenomenal run, absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, and look, mate, we've probably been a little unfair saying it hasn't been a great year. Let's not forget that she was part of one of the best female races we've ever seen at the Two Oceans Marathon, with her and Gert Steyn going at it. Until after the marathon mark, she ended up finishing second there. She's now come back from surgery, so she's actually had 2 really good races this year. But that highlights her quality. That with that year, we're sitting here talking about how she really needed this, because she hasn't possibly had her best year. She certainly wasn't dominant in the Spa Ladies series as she has been in the past, but really podium at Two Oceans, first at Soweto Marathon. I think she can look forward to a Christmas break and start planning for next year.
Well, it'll be a well-deserved Christmas break, but we also always do say you've got 2 good marathons, or 1 good ultra and 1 good marathon in your body in a year, and she's proven that again today.
No, absolutely, and I think Tutu was talking earlier about how she doesn't race a lot, and she's really smart about the races that she chooses. She does a lot of 10K races, sure, but you can handle a lot of 10K races in a year. Here we have the second place athlete, and just look at the difference in body language. You can see this is hard work, slogging to the top, and Yvette's still looking pretty calm and serene and in control.
Well, Salem Abeda Alabechu is a former winner of the Mandela Day Marathon. She's raced here, she's podiumed here before. She is a tough runner, and that is her running style. But even though that is her running style, you can see that she too is beginning to take strain. Yvette van Zyl is not far away from the stadium, and we'll bring her in shortly. But the masses still coming in from the half marathon and some 10 kilometers as well. And the marathon guys also still coming in. Running time 2:32:51. The men who are still coming in now are having some really, really good results as well. Yvette van Zyl is now on the outside of the stadium, and she is tired.
She is very, very tired, but I mean, it's been a very, very long day, and it's been a hard run for her. She's really, really pushed herself. But she can't be too far off now, possibly about a minute away from the finish.
Yeah, look, and I'm just really happy for you. You can see now she is hurting a bit, and as I said earlier, probably just lacking 1 or 2 longer runs, but really, really well done, Yvette.
Well, she's in the tunnel. She's got just under 20 seconds to break the record. She is going to give it a go. She is picking up her pace. She is working hard. The time is not going to be there, but she's going to come desperately close to cracking that record. Phenomenal run by Yvette van Zyl. You can see the pain on her face. There the record is gone, and she's into the home straight, waving to the crowd. And Yvette van Zyl, take a bow. This was a phenomenal run after the year you've had. 2:33:59 unofficially, just breaking 2:34, and you've got to give it to her. That has got to be one of the best races she's run.
And she's only just 20 seconds outside her course record. This has been a truly, truly phenomenal run.
Yeah, and that's her husband, Alia van Zyl, of course, former Olympian and a national 400-meter hurdle record holder, greeting her over the line. But that really was a great run. Very, very happy for Yvette. We've spoken about the operation. She is a mother of 2. She fits her training around being a full-time mom. Really, really well done. And 3-time winner, a South African. We do like to win our own races. So, yeah, what a great, exciting day. And Soweto has delivered with excitement. We almost saw the record falling in the ladies' marathon. Yeah, just been a real privilege to be part of the commentary team while we watched it unfold.
She's certainly the epitome of consistency.
Indeed, this is her third win in a row. In the last 2 years, almost similar times, both 2:33s. I mean, this is her race now.
Well, when she won in 2 years ago for her first title, she won in 2:41. And when she went on stage, she was absolutely emotional. She said to me yesterday, she was emotional because she was 6 weeks pregnant at that stage. But she also did say that winning this race means the world to her.
Yeah, and it was actually a breakthrough for her to win a major race in South Africa. Now she's come back and done it 3 times. As we said, that's starting to show that she's really developing some unbelievable consistency on the roads. And you know, at 2:33, she laid down the gauntlet for her teammates who will be taking part in the New York City Marathon. Gerda Steyn, you know, you can't compare the times necessarily, but I think her teammate will wake up, see how well her vet ran, and that'll motivate her to have a really great race in New York today.
Well, certainly Yvette and Gerda are the 2 leading marathon runners in South Africa, and it does seem to be start looking promising again on the women's front. We've got a couple of women coming through at 2:34s as well. So is it looking up in the women's marathon?
Look, it's definitely looking up, and even if we look at the sort of second and third tier female runners in the country, we're starting to see a lot of women running sub 250 marathons, and I believe that's really what we need, so that they say a rising tide lifts all the ships, and that is what we need, like a collective improvement in times for us to get taken seriously on the international stage again. Of course, we are now looking at times between 2:26 and 2:29, but I firmly believe that will come. I'm expecting to see that from Gerda today in New York. That will in turn motivate the other elite runners around to lift their game and get faster. And I do think that we really are seeing a resurgence in long distance running in this country.
Well, while Yvette takes the plaudits and is leading the charge along with Gerda Steyn in women's resurgence in marathon running, what you're seeing now is the battle for second and third with Kadisa Gadeche-Bekele and Salim Abera Alabetro racing it out, tussling it out for second and third.
And we're not sure how far they are into the race, but at 33 Ks, they were both quite a long way from Yvette van Zyl. Probably a good 7 or 8 minutes. So we'll see what time they come in.
Well, second and third battling it out there. Yvette van Zyl enjoying the plaudits of her victory, and we're going to be back just after this ad break.
Make your money work harder for you with an Old Mutual money account. It's the card that lets you invest in a unit trust every time you spend. Just set, swipe, and automatically save. Simple. Welcome to the smarter way to save and manage your money every day. Sign up online today or visit any Old Mutual retail branch or SMS apply to 44964. The time is now to make your money work for you with the Old Mutual money account.
Welcome back as the masses are streaming in for the half marathon. The women's race is still unfolding, and we are still looking to break 3 hours. But we're going to we'll do the race results shortly on the men's, on the 10K and in the half marathon. And here we go. This is your standings, the race result. Elroy Galant, an absolute dominant form, a minute win over Joel Mohan. Pilani Buthelezi finishing in third. And Lindsay, he's one of your athletes. You must be quite happy with his year so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's gotten very consistent, gotten on the podium a couple of times this year. Last year he came second, so we were looking to go one step further. And it's very interesting looking at the times, because what I said to Pilani on Thursday was that I felt like we needed to sneak under 65 minutes to win this race, and Elroy did exactly that, just going under. But the nature of what Elroy did was what was impressive. Polani's in really good shape at the moment, and Polani couldn't even hold him for the first 3 Ks.
Well, we were saying early on in commentary, we got a standout in Elroy and Stephen McCorker, but Pilani Buthelezi, Colin Malazi, this is the new generation that's coming through, and it does look promising.
No, it does, and he ran a 2-minute PB over 21 earlier this year, so he is still pretty young in marathon, and well, we won't talk about ultras just yet, but in marathon running terms, he's pretty young. He's still a little bit inexperienced. He's only into his 2nd year of marathon running. So I believe that next year we can get him close to 60 minutes, and that again will inspire the runners around him to take a step up.
Well, top 5 in the men, all South African, unlike in the marathon itself. Here we go, Caroline Mandu taking the women's race, and there we go, top 2 coming from Zimbabwe. The consistency of Dinah Lebo-Palula, always getting into the top 10, podium yet again. The times, though, pretty much as expected here for the half marathon.
It's look, the men ran incredibly quickly, but it's not an easy course. Don't look at the time and think, Elroy ran 64:53, that it's an easy course. There were some long climbs out there with some fast downhill sections, so these times are in line with what we expect, but good to see Lebo-Palula out there on the podium.
Yeah, it's great seeing her back on the podium, because also over the last 2 years, although she's always there and thereabouts top 10, she really hasn't been at the forefront and on the podium for a little while, so it's nice to see a little bit of a return to form there for Diana Lebo-Palula.
Well, that then is your top 10 of the women in the half marathon. Elroy Galan taking the men's race, Caroline Mandu taking the women's race in the half marathon, 1 hour 20 minutes and 58 seconds. In case you missed it, Yvette van Zyl almost breaking her own record in the marathon. Now then, Desmond Mokhubu, having gone to Doha in the marathon and represented South Africa, running an unbelievable 30:38 on this course, half a minute ahead of Mbulela Matanga, who's also an up-and-coming young athlete and a really good athlete. But that was a dominant performance by Desmond.
It was indeed. I mean, that's a huge gap for 10K running. And Mbulela Matanga is a very good athlete. So Desmond really ran superbly to put such a gap on him. And 30:38 at this altitude, in this heat, is absolutely phenomenal 10K running.
Yeah, we did see a classy performance there in the 10,000, but I'm really encouraged to see and Glenrose Tava just showing us how consistent she's become. Manfred is saying it's her breakout year, and she's absolutely putting herself on the map. Sub 34 minutes on this course. Again, we're talking about some really quick times on really tough course.
And it was an absolute dominant victory, almost 2 minutes ahead of Emma Pallant of Great Britain. Dinah Palula coming through for 3rd, again on the podium. The Palula twins are very consistent, but you can take nothing away from Glenrose Klauber having probably the year of her life right now, and I'd be really interested to see what she does in 2020 after a bit of a break. We're going to go down to the finish line shortly now to catch up with the women's winner, Yvette van Zyl and Tebogo.
I'm standing here with the Soweto Marathon champion for 2019. She was the champion in 2017 and as well as in 2018. Yvette, how did you find the race, given that you had some challenges earlier on in the year and you just narrowly missed your record from last year?
Yes, it was quite a tough race at the beginning. We stayed quite a long time waiting for the starting gun, but I only got into running about in 28K, so then I felt better. So it's a long while to run, I'm comfortable, and then I only feel better, but I prefer that way, at least I could finish strong. So yes, and then the tough part started, so I'm really happy about today. I didn't think today a win would be so possible, and especially the time. I was thinking I'm in a bit of a less better shape, but yeah, I'm very happy today and so blessed.
Okay, and then what are your plans going forward for the rest of the season and for 2020?
So now I'm going to take a bit of a break. This whole year has been quite emotional, having surgery for a problem that was bothering me for 7 years, fixing it, and now just to take a rest, to take a mental break actually, and then focus on next year. I want to do a good marathon next year, and Yeah, we'll see if Olympics is up for the cards, but for now, don't put any pressure on me for that. So I'm just focusing on getting better and be the best that I can be.
Thank you very much, Yvette. I think by now we can give you the name of the Queen of Soweto. Congratulations, and we hope to see you back again next year. Thank you so much.
And here we go now, getting ready for second place in the ladies' race. Salim Abeda Alabecha coming through in her unique style of running. She's a consistent podium athlete. She's always podiuming on Mandela Day Marathon. She's podiumed here a couple of times. But this has been a hard race for her. 2:45, just under 2:46 right now. As she goes into the tunnel before she enters the home straight here in the Calabash. And it's been hard work for the Ethiopian. A regular visitor here to South Africa, and certainly looking to break 2 hours and 46 minutes. But it has been hard work all the way.
And 2:45 is a respectable time for the Soweto Marathon, and yet Yvette van Zyl has won this by almost 12 minutes, which shows you just how good a performance that she had. But Salam Alabecha podiums again. A good run in very tough conditions.
Yeah, and as Manfred was saying earlier, I mean, she is a former winner of the Nelson Mandela Marathon, and so this is a good athlete, and that I think is allows us to underline just how well Yvette ran today. As you said, almost been beaten by 12 minutes, which probably equates to 3.5 kilometers ahead of the other runners. We did see an absolutely dominant performance from Yvette today.
Well, it's actually quite an incredible run that you're seeing here for third place, Kadecha Bekele. She's passing a whole host of half marathon runners that are still out there. And she's working hard. She has taken strain. There's a grimace on her face. But also a pretty solid performance.
Yeah, so like, I mean, 246, and over the years, 238 to sort of 242 has won this marathon in the past. So we are seeing fairly solid performances here from second and third. I'm not going to describe them as brilliant, but they are solid performances. This is a tough course, and of course every minute that you stay out there now is just getting warmer and warmer. So for everyone who's finishing behind these athletes, it's turning out to be a hard day in Soweto.
Well, hard day indeed. Soweto always does become quite hot. We used to have this race in December. They brought it forward by 1 month. It was always on the same weekend as Fukuoka. But that doesn't seem to have made much of a difference because it's still unbelievably hot out there.
No, I mean, November in South Africa, I mean, we just had a massive heat wave now. It'll probably hit about 30 degrees later today. I mean, we're sitting outside in the baking sun. We've got an umbrella, so we're quite fortunate. But for those runners outside, and the route is not shaded at all, so you're actually out in the baking sun, getting dehydrated. And the hotter you become, the harder it is to cool yourself down.
Well, there's no place to hide out there, but Kadecha Bekele doesn't have to hide anymore as she comes through to take the third spot and rounds out the podium, breaking 2 hours and 50. The women's race, not as deep as the men's race in terms of timing. It was a very, very clear and decisive victory by Yvette van Zyl. Absolutely dominated that race, and the women are really, really spread out.
Yeah, I mean, she took the race by the scruff of the neck, went out pretty fast, and clearly there was just no women in the field that could go with her. The first 13 Ks of this route are pretty easy, so I think from early on, the race settled down into two races, one for the record with Yvette and the other one for second and third on the podium. And second and third athletes were also fairly dominant compared to the rest of the field. I think we're going to wait another good couple of minutes before we see the fourth place athlete come over the line.
Well, whilst we're waiting for the marathon runners to start coming in, we'll see a lot more in terms of masses. That looks like the fourth lady out there, and still a long way to go for her to come through to the stadium. The half marathon athletes are streaming in down on the finish line. It's a sea of green and yellow, wearing the Soweto Marathon t-shirt with absolute pride. That is looks like the fourth lady coming through there.
and she is quite a long way back. It'll probably be a good 10 minutes until we see her come through to the finish. And breaking sub 3 would probably be about the best you can hope for. But we are at that stage now where when you've been out for 3 hours in the marathon, it starts to get, I mean, however far you are into the race, 3 hours on your feet is a long, long time to be out. And I mean, a marathon is not a slow race from relative performance. You're still running relatively hard. So the longer you spend out when you're running 3 hours, 3.5 hours, it actually is a lot more hard work for those athletes than say it is for a 2:15, 2:20 runner.
Now look, when you get into the marathon distance, and that's part of the beauty of it, I guess, is that it's no longer only about who can run the fastest. You have to be able to manage yourself, pace yourself properly. You've got to take on nutrition on board, because once we move particularly beyond 2 hours, it becomes really important to start replacing the energy that you are using. But what's cool now, and what is quite exciting, is that there are a lot of runners out there that are going for a sub 3 hour marathon, because in South Africa the sub 3 hour marathon qualifies you to get A seeding in some of our big races or other big races in the country. So right now there are a lot of people out there fighting really, really hard to try and sneak under 3 hours.
Well, trying to sneak under 3 hours is Tabeleng Letsela, moving up from 9th all the way into 4th by the looks of it. She's not that far away, but this is still a steep climb coming into the stadium here.
Yeah, I'm not sure that she is going to make it under 3 hours, but we will have a look and see. And of course, in the amateur field, sub 3 hours is quite a marker, because it's that kind of barrier that tends to what runners will classify as a real runner versus the more social runners. So yeah, everyone's digging deep here, really fighting hard, and hopefully we'll get a couple more females sneaking in under 3 hours.
Well, 3 hours on this course in this heat is still a fantastic performance. So if you come in under 3 hours, you can really hold your head up high. Those runners out there that are doing 6 hours, it's going to be brutal.
Yeah, so from this point in time, I think if you are out there and you are in that bracket of sort of 4.5 hours to 6 hours of racing, it's really important to keep yourself cool, keep dousing yourself with water, keep on taking in nutrition, keeping your energy levels up so that you can make the journey as comfortable as possible. But we've just watched such exciting race unfold, but really Soweto is about what we are watching on the TV now. It's about the everyday runner. 40,000 people have come to Soweto to run and take part in this magnificent event across 10, 21 and 42 kilometers, and that's really what today is about. And it's about those people chasing dreams, fulfilling dreams, running their first marathons, running their first 10Ks, and getting South Africa active.
So Lindsay, you mentioned as those guys get out into 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, we know for the elite athletes, managing nutrition and fuel is a critical part of running your best performance. How is that challenge different for, say, a 4-hour runner compared to, like a vet running 2:30 or the men who ran 2:18?
So I think it depends a little bit on the goal that the athlete has set itself. So because you're running 4 hours doesn't necessarily mean that you're expending that much less energy than someone who's trying to win the race. So I think it depends on your intent, how hard you're pushing. Are you out there trying to run a PB and push yourself to your limits, or are you out there, and we only do this in South Africa, running a marathon for fun? And I think that's the differentiator. I think if you're pushing yourself and you're on the edge all the time, just because you're slower than the elites doesn't mean that you are using less energy. And then it becomes really important to have a good, consistent, rehearsed nutrition plan that you execute so that you do feel relatively fresh all the way to the finish line. Obviously, the easier you run as an individual, that becomes slightly less important. However, even training at moderate intensity, we do need, and now we have the 4th place athlete coming over the Jennifer Coet. she was near the front earlier in the race, but obviously not anywhere near first place. But yeah, she has run in South Africa a couple of times, I think. So she is becoming a familiar face on our roads.
And we have our 5th place runner also coming in. So the top 5 women will be in. This is the 6th place runner.
Yeah, so we have Anna Bengu from Zimbabwe coming into the stadium now. And I think the ladies runners will be coming through thick and fast from here. Oh, that is Rotendo. She's a very well-known face on South African shores. She's been coming and running for many, many years.
Yeah, and Rotendo did also run the World Championship Marathon in Doha, so this is also a very fast turnaround time for her. And shame for her, she's had 2 very, very tough marathons. The Doha Women's Marathon was something else completely. 32 degrees that was, even though it was a midnight start. And she's come to Soweto where it's not much cooler today.
Yeah, and as you said, that really is a tight turnaround. We don't see that very often where elite runners race 2 marathons so close to each other. And talking about the Doha Marathon, very interesting article that I read in the week, how the rest of the athletes, the men's marathon and the walking events actually learned from the females and saw the effect that the humidity and the temperature had on them. So the men's marathon and in particular the walking events, the guys were doing ice baths before the race, and then they were putting ice into socks and sticking that down their vest to keep them cool. And the men and in particular the walkers actually handled that Doha much, much better. And that takes us back to my point earlier, where the athletes have got to get cold water, keep putting it over themselves so that they can regulate their body temperature.
So this is the top 10 for the men's marathon. So Debeko Dakamo Dasa winning in 2:18:35, an absolutely superb time. David Mario of Kenya in 3rd place in 2:18:48, and Rifera Mega Madesa, also from Ethiopia, in 2:18:57.
Yeah, not too many South Africans there in that top 10. We saw it unfold on our screen. It was a pretty exciting race. It was really only decided in the last kilometre. And if you have a look at those times, although the gaps look pretty big, there was only a couple of seconds in it. So right up until the lines, no one could relax. They knew if they did, someone was going to catch them from behind. And we had the top 10 coming in under 2:21. So that was quite a high-class, fun race to watch for the viewers on live stream.
When you consider that 2:20:58 would have probably podiumed last year, this is quite a phenomenal performance by the men today. And Lesotho always has a presence in the Soweto Marathon. There are 3 athletes from Lesotho in the top there. Ramalefi Mutsiela in 5th place. Lebenya Nkoka, who's had a good 2 Oceans career as well, in 6th place. And then Justin Tesiro, who led in the early stages, out in 10th place in 2:20:58.
They're still streaming through here at the Soweto Marathon in association with Old Mutual, as the ladies still keep coming in for the 2019 edition of the race. Yvette van Zyl, fantastic run to win the ladies race, just missing out on the course record.
It's the 2019 Old Mutual Soweto Marathon, and we are coming to you live from the FNB Stadium. It's the Calabash, known for football, but today taken over by running, as some of Africa's finest participate over 42 kilometers, 21 kilometers, and 10 kilometers. Over 40,000 runners having participated in today's race, and we are looking forward to talking to Old Mutual's Usis Tobile Shabalala. Of course, she heads up marketing and communication about this race that has been associated with Old Mutual for a very, very long time, almost since its inception back in 1991 has the Soweto Marathon been. Sis Tobile, thank you so much for talking to us here at the race. So far, so good for the 2019 race?
Yes, so far so good. We've actually had very overwhelming support, both from the people who run and people who are just supporting the race. We've had about 40,000 runners registered this year, and I think it's a great success.
The success of this race, I guess, can be highlighted by the fact that last year we even had the President of the Republic, Cyril Ramaphosa, walking. We saw him in Japan yesterday being the boxers' #1 cheerleader as they won a 3rd Rugby World Cup title. But he has also been here, as has been the Premier of the province, David Makura. So all sorts from all walks of life participating in what has become an iconic race for South Africa.
I mean, yes, yesterday was just an exceptional event, and if it wasn't for that, he would have been here to actually participate in the marathon. So he really intends to actually participate on a yearly basis in this race. So we look forward to next year. But yeah, up the poker.
Now tell me about Old Mutual's association with this race, the Soweto Marathon. You have been associated with for a long time, on and off, but almost since the beginning. Right then, in the beginning when the race started and needed support, Old Mutual was there. Why is it so important for Old Mutual to be with the Soweto Marathon?
I mean, Soweto is in the heartland of our market, and it is important that we support and we give back to the communities that make us who we are. So for us, this race is actually very, very important strategically, and also because of the fact that it does so much more than just running. They do other programs as well that we participate in. So it's quite a valuable race and event to support into the future.
One of those other things, aside from just running, that is a highlight for me, and I've been there to witness it a few years ago with Ubabandile Ngoma, is the Runners Village.
Yes.
Where we give an opportunity to underprivileged runners to have a place to stay. Tell us a little bit more about that initiative.
So how that actually came about is the fact that a lot of runners, particularly who come out of Johannesburg, do not have the resources to book themselves into a decent place to sleep, get decent meals and so on. And we thought it would be great for us to actually make that available. So we partner with local schools to make sure that we provide accommodation, we provide nutrition, we provide transport, and even entertainment before the race, so people can actually come and enjoy the race. So we do it mostly for underprivileged runners who obviously earn up to a maximum of 3,000 rands a month. So that's how we give back to the community as well.
We're talking to Tobile Shabalala of Old Mutual about the Old Mutual Soweto Marathon 2019 and their association with this race. And she's telling us about why this race is important for Old Mutual. Now, you mentioned a variety of different things, and one of the things that you are involved with is Move the Nation Old Mutual Live, which some of those runners are participating here at the Soweto Marathon. So it's really about growing the whole ecosystem of running and pushing them into Soweto. Am I correct?
Yes, we actually want to have a lot more intimate relationship with people who actually participate in running. And Move the Nation has given us a platform to do exactly that. So what they do, they actually have races during the week that lead up to the preparation of Soweto
training
Marathon.
sessions, exactly.
Yes, so for us it's important to even get closer to the people who run and not only get close to them on the day of the race. So it's given us a great platform. We've had about 1,000 people that have participated. There is an app that you can actually download and register to get information about what it is that we're doing. Yeah, so I'm quite excited about it.
Lastly, in these tough economic times, will Old Mutual still be continuing with Soweto?
Definitely 2020, Soweto is in our plans.
Let's leave it on that note. Tobile Shabalala of Old Mutual, thank you so much for talking to us. She heads up marketing and communications, celebrating the 2019 Old Mutual Soweto Marathon.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Siyabonga, Sister Tobile. And we say a big thank you to her. She's getting used to being in a commentary booth and holding the mic.
From Ethiopia, I'm told that this was his first marathon. Coming here today, was there any game plan, or you just wanted to experience the distance?
እዚህ ዛሬ ሶዌቶ ማራቶን መታ አሸንፋልና የመጣበት እንትን እቅድ ምንድን ነበረ? ለማሸነፍ ነበር ወይስ ልምድ ለመውሰድ ነበረ?
አሸንፋለሁ ብለህ ግምት የለም፣ ግን አሁን ደረጃ ቤት ይወጣሉ ብዬ አስቤ ነው መጣኔ።
When I come, I plan to win, and I was thinking to be #1.
Okay, congratulations, and will we be seeing him more in the South African road running scene, or where to from here?
ከእንግዲህ በኋላ ወደ ሳውት አፍሪካ ውድድር ውስጥ ትመጣለህ ብለን እንገምታለን። የት ነው የምትመጣው የሚቀጥለው ውድድር?
አይ ቀጥሎ አመት ውድድሩ በቃ ጥሩ ኮችም በጣም ጥሩ ሰው ነው። እኔ ጋር አብሮ ሲወጣ ሲሰራም እሱ እኔ ጋር ስለሆነ አሁን ከዚህ በኋላም ጥሩ ሮጣለሁ ብዬ ገምታለሁ።
I think I'm going to run better in South African road race, especially the Cape Town Marathon.
Okay, thank you so much, and good luck for next year and for the rest of the season. Well done. Salam, you were third last year. You came back in 2019 and you took second place. Was there anything that you did differently?
ሰላም ባለፈው ሶስተኛ ነበር የወጣሽው አሁን ደግሞ ሁለተኛ ነው ምን የሰራሽው ነገር ወይ ለውጥ አለ ወይ
Yes ማለት ያው ስፒድም ነበር የሚጎልኝ ስፒድን ያስተካክል የሰራው
Yes I have make some training program change I used to do focusing on mileage now I just add a little bit speed and that was my weakness on speed
Okay, congratulations for today and we're looking forward to see more of you on the road. Well done.
በሚቀጥሉት ደግሞ ውድድሮችም እናይሻለን ብለን ተስፋ እናደርጋለን
Thanks
Thank you, Tebogo Masehla. She's still the SA 3,000 meter record holder, and she was speaking to the men's winner of the 2019 Soweto Marathon. So we go through the women's results, the top 10 of the Soweto Marathon. Yvette van Zyl, of course, winning it in 2:34. A fantastic run, winning it by over 10 minutes, shows her dominance over this race as she completed a hat-trick of victories. Other than that, we see some fantastic performances there from repeat offenders in the likes of Bekele coming back to this race. A good performance as well from Jennifer Courage and Rutenda Nyahaura of Zimbabwe, who lives and trains here in South Africa. And rounding out the top 10 is Faith Nyasango, getting in just a smidgen under 3 hours as she collects some prize money of 3,000 Rand in the Soweto Marathon. Remember that it's 250,000 Rand for the winner, and we go right down to 3,000 for number 10. Lots of runners here streaming across the finish line, completing their 10 kilometers and their 21 kilometers. But for the bulk of the 42-kilometer field, they remain out there on the course, and I can tell you that it is hot. We are Shisa. It is hot here in Soweto today as runners try and complete the 42.2-kilometer distance. We'll go back to Tebogo Masehla in just a short while. She's got more interviews of runners who've completed the race as we watch some veterans, men over 40, completing the Old Mutual Soweto Marathon in 2019. It's also important to note that there are over 40,000 runners. That is the largest ever field here that has run the Soweto Marathon. 10 kilometers, 21 and 42 kilometers. It would not be possible without several partners, in particular the city of Johannesburg, who are a major partner here for the Old Mutual Soweto Marathon. They are responsible for making sure that the roads are closed and that the runners run safely. 40,000 runners, that is a lot of runners to get through this course here. So well done to the city of Joburg for partnering with the Soweto Marathon Trust to make sure that this race happens and happens safely. Amongst the partners as well are the taxi associations. As I mentioned, the Soweto Marathon Trust, and Tatesil Lokono, who is the chairman of the Soweto Marathon Trust, told us that they have engaged various taxi associations. Some of them have been acting as marshals along the route to ensure that this race happens safely, because in the past there have been issues of impatience with taxi drivers ferrying their passengers and complaining about road closures. So it's good to see that they've been brought on board, and it's been good that they are part of it. We'll be back with some more of the action from the 2019 Old Mutual Soweto Marathon after this.
It's competition time with 22/7 and Old Mutual Rewards. Stand a chance to hike through Machu Picchu, soar over Cappadocia, or cruise the islands of Croatia. If you use our app between now and February 2020, the more you budget like a boss, the more chances you have to win like a boss. We've partnered with Old Mutual Rewards so you can win monthly rewards to help boss your budget. It's simple. Download 22/7. No matter who you bank with, you can sign up with Old Mutual Rewards. Then earn rewards points for budgeting. Every 20 points gives you a chance to win a host of exciting monthly vouchers and our big boss prize, an experience of a lifetime. Don't delay. Download 22/7 and start budgeting like a boss today.
It's the 2019 Soweto Marathon in association with Old Mutual, and it is the deepest field ever assembled here. 40,000 runners over 3 events, and they're still streaming in the half marathon. The marathon athletes still to come. There's a lot of them still out there. Remember, there's a 6-hour cutoff, and they are going to be out there for a while still. But right now on the finish line, second place runner-up man is down with Tebogo on the finish line.
I'm standing with the second place man in the marathon, David Maru, all the way from Kenya, representing Nedbank International. David, I'm told this is your first time in South Africa. How did you find it to take a tour of South Africa and in Soweto and by foot?
Yes, this is my first time to come in South Africa, especially Soweto Marathon. This is my first time to compete here. Yeah.
And how did you find the race?
I find the race it is a bit difficult, but it depends now the preparation for individual. For me, I'm very happy because I have become position 2, which I'm very happy. Yeah.
Okay, congratulations, and will we be seeing more of you on the South African road running scene, and also will you be coming back for the Soweto Marathon in 2020?
Yes, I will be very happy to come back here again in other road races, especially road races or marathon, and I'm very happy to come back next year to Soweto Marathon.
Thank you so much, David, and welcome to South Africa.
Thank you, Tebogo Masesa, and well done to all the runners that are finishing the Soweto Marathon. And we can tell you that the MEC for Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation in Gauteng, Bali Sope, has just come across the finish line in a huge bus involving several athletes, as Christine Kalmer also completes the marathon in 3 hours and 12 minutes. Christine Kalmer having represented South Africa at the Olympic Games. And just behind her, her sister Renee Kalmer, also an Olympian, having run the 1500 meters at the 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing and the marathon in London 2012. The sisters finishing together in the colors of Murray and Roberts. And as the runners continue to stream across the finish, I beg your pardon, we had the opportunity to speak to some of the winners and also the first South African, Nsindiso Phakathi. He finished in 8th place, the man running in the Hollywood Bets colors. And he says he believes he could have won the race, but he was disturbed by the fact that a couple of weeks ago he had a break-in at his house. He is a man who lives here in Soweto and trains here in Soweto. And he says he had to go up and down to the police station, and that hampered his preparation in the last 3 weeks of the race. But he's happy with his finish, and he's happy to finish as the first South African again here in the 2019 version of the Soweto Marathon.
Well, yeah, the foreign domination certainly on the men's side very, very prominent here. Yvette van Zyl obviously doing exceptionally well, just missing on that course record. And given the fact that she's come off an injury and had surgery, that is a phenomenal performance.
An unbelievable performance, especially when you add the heat as well to that. Do you think probably she could have run at least a minute faster in cooler weather conditions? So an encouraging performance. And as we said earlier on when we were sitting here with Ntutu, that let's see what she can do in a big city marathon, maybe not on a pancake flat course, but at a New York or a Boston, I think she's due to break that 2:30 mark.
Well, they're still pouring in the half marathon, and it's amazing to see. The half marathon, of course, is the biggest field, 15,000, and it's interesting to see how this half marathon has grown.
It is a distance where many feel as though they've been running a while, so they like to test themselves, but they're not ready for the full 42.2 kilometer distance yet. So it's just there in the middle. And it is a distance that is much loved around the world, in fact, in distance running, the 21 kilometer distance. So it really is no different here in South Africa, where we see a lot of people running the 21 kilometer. As the man over the PA, Sean Falconer, says, happy birthday, Renee Kalmer. Celebrating her birthday today is one of South Africa's best distance runners. She finished in just a shade over 3:12 in the ladies' race.
Well, Renee Kalmer, of course, a 40-time national champion. I don't think there's any South African who has more titles than she does.
Over so many different distances. 1,500 meters, 10,000, 5,000, marathon, cross-country. She really is a star athlete and talented, very versatile as well. Great to see now some of the yellow T-shirts coming across the line, and those yellow T-shirts are in the main in the 21 and the 10 kilometer races. Good to see some walkers as well being encouraged over the finish line as people try and adopt a healthier lifestyle. Lots of walkers coming across the line in the 10 kilometer race as well. So it really is a wonderful race, and we're seeing the numbers in the 42 more and more coming across the line. We haven't reached the 3:30 mark yet, but this is a time for the good runners. These runners that are coming in now for the 42.2 kilometer distance have run the race in under 5 kilometers per 5 minutes per kilometer, I beg your pardon, and that's quite some doing on a tough and hilly course at altitude on a very hot day. So these are good runners who are coming across the finish, and many of them will be entertaining hopes of running silvers at the big ultra marathons across the country, which traditionally happen in the new year. And that's it. 40,000 runners. It's the single biggest event. 40,000 runners. You're not going to get more runners in a single running event in South Africa. So well done to the Soweto Marathon, and well done to the organizers. It really is special to witness this.
Well, it takes a lot of organization to put on an event like this. 40,000 odd runners over 3 events, and just to show you how difficult it is and what goes into it, we caught up with race director Danny Bloomberg.
It does take a good 11 to 12 months to prepare for a race like this. So all the operations happen concurrently. So if you're looking at routes, normally when you get your route measured and verified, that lasts for 5 years. So that piece is then taken out for 5 years. So then you're looking at all the elements like the expo, race day, focusing on all the elements that we need to do from an operational perspective, linking up with the technical team and obviously doing the technical elements, making sure we tick the boxes there. And then obviously then procurement, looking at items like T-shirts, medals, and all the items that need to be ordered well in advance. So that's why we start as early as January. Yeah, look, I think the race is getting bigger and bigger, and I think Soweto is starting to realize that this is one of their events. In saying that, we have to communicate with all stakeholders like the taxi associations, the shop owners, the business holders, the residents. You know, it's also about, everyone must realize that the first Sunday of every November is going to be Soweto Marathon, and I think that's what we want to build, so that people can plan accordingly. You know, we benefit because the City of Joburg and the Department of Gauteng Sports are on our operational local organising committee. We don't have full road closures. We have rolling road closures, which means that we try and protect the runners where we can in terms of closures. There are closures around the stadium itself, so Golden Highway, Nazareth Road, Rancho Road, there will be closures. We've got in excess of 26 water points between the three routes. Each water point has 30 volunteers. So we're working with a force with marshals and water points, over 1,600. Between 1,600 and 2,000 volunteers that work on race day. We've got bins at all the dustbins, so we'd like to encourage the runners to use the bins.
It's the 2019 Old Mutual Soweto Marathon, and we are celebrating a wonderful race. Over 40,000 runners have taken part in today's race, and they are streaming across the finish line. It is a Herculean task to get all these runners involved in this race and get them safely across the finish line. And to talk to us about that is the Soweto Marathon Trust Chairman, Ntate Lokuno, who joins me now to talk a little bit about the race. Ntate Kuno, good morning, and first things first, how do you feel about how this race has gone this morning so far?
Good morning to you and good morning to the listeners. This is truly a historic moment to have 40,000 runners, you know, running in the streets of Soweto, being a township. So we are ecstatic, you know, with the numbers, and we hope to be building up, you know, to 50,000 in about 2 years.
Sure. You are not stopping here. You are going for that 50.
Yes, indeed. We must go for that 50.
Well, tell us about what goes into producing a race of this magnitude. Who are some of the partners that you have to work with in order to get 40,000 runners through the streets of Soweto?
Well, it is indeed, you know, a huge operation, but it wouldn't be possible without sponsors like Old Mutual, the City of Johannesburg, the Gauteng Provincial Government, Johnson Workwear, Budget Car Hire, Plant and Generator Hire, and you know, without these partners and sponsors, this wouldn't have been possible. So we are very, very grateful, hoping that they will continue with their support.
Earlier on, we were talking about some of those partners, perhaps, shall I say, unusual, or partners that are not the traditional partners, are the taxi associations. You were telling us about how you've worked with the taxi associations around the issue of road closures, and many of them are acting as marshals. Was that the case again in 2019, that you had a close relationship with them?
Well, as you know, the taxi industry, you know, is big business in regards of transport. And we would be making a big mistake if we don't talk to the taxi associations. But to us, it has become a tradition that on a yearly basis, we consult with all the taxi associations and get their buy-in and cooperation in this. So by now they are used to us coming to them, you know, sitting around the table and talking about the Soweto Marathon. So they give us their full support, and now we almost not experience any problems on the road.
We're coming to you live from the FNB Stadium here. It is the 3rd of November 2019 as we celebrate the Old Mutual Soweto Marathon, talking to the Soweto Marathon Trusts and Ntate Lokuno about this year's race. Now, you mentioned your partners, the taxi associations, and some of your partners are the actual Soweto clubs who form part of the Soweto Marathon Trust. Take us back in time and tell us how you were able to put this race together with several different clubs who came together and decided we want our own race in Soweto.
Well, back in time, it was extremely difficult to stage a race. Because as you know, the race, any race, a fun run or something, needs a lot of resources. So we decided as Soweto clubs to come together and put our heads together so that we can be able to get resources, to run one successful race. And indeed, in 1991, we managed to stage our first race.
Yes.
Whereby we had only 80 runners.
80?
Yeah, 80 runners.
80 to 40,000.
So now that 80, we were very excited that together we could stage, a race. But today we are talking about 40,000 plus. And as I've said earlier, I mentioned earlier that we are looking to have 50,000 on the road.
50,000 runners on the road, especially on a day like this, means that we need a lot of provision, cold drinks, ice, and all those things. How is that working today in particular? It's very hot out there on the road. How have we been able to cater for all of these runners, and are they all going to get the nice cold water and Coca-Cola and the rest of it that they need?
We plan a race like this 14 months in advance.
Sure.
So what goes into the planning? We go to the finer detail. The standard of hydration is 3 sachets per athlete, but we have upped that to 5 sachets per athlete in ensuring that there can never be any water shortage anywhere. So in a day like this, we ensured that there are even showers on the road.
Oh, wow.
To cool down the athletes, and there are more than enough cold drinks, for hydration, and there are also, food stations from the market. There is a market at City Deep, it's supporting us with the fruits. So I am sure the runners can bear witness that they had, enough hydration on the road.
We're talking to the Soweto Marathon Trust, Ntate Sillo Kuno. He is the chairman of the trust, a coalition of various Soweto clubs that came together to start the Soweto Marathon back in 1991. Now, one of the visions for this race when you started it was in order to accommodate the people of Soweto and accommodate those who may not be able to travel far to run races, to run marathons. And we see that now you've even gone a step further. With Old Mutual, you have the runners' villages, so that those who are coming from far and wide and maybe can't afford accommodation have a place to stay. Tell us a little bit more about this initiative.
Yes, the Soweto Marathon is very, very popular, because as we speak right now, we are having runners from 43 countries from throughout the world. But here at home, we have athletes from as far as KwaZulu-Natal, the Western Cape, Limpopo, and you name it. So way down in 2014, we realized that there were athletes, late at night that sleeps under the trees and under
the
bridges, and sometimes it would rain. So it pained us that people would be sleeping under such conditions, and we clubbed together as we speak with Old Mutual and Sowetan, to really do something about it. And we came up with the Runners Village, whereby runners are catered for with a sleeping place, with proper showers, toilet facilities, and more importantly, the food. You know, when they arrive in the afternoon, they get food, and early in the morning they also get a breakfast, you know, to give them energy to run the race. So, you know, we are giving these athletes who are our most important customers, you know, some dignified way of, you know, sleeping.
Yeah, and we're just looking at some of this footage now. This is one that I've been to at Morris Isaacson School, where they provide a place for the runners to sleep, some food, and there are often some nice activities to keep the runners entertained night before the race. You know, we like to sing and get into the spirit of the marathon the night before, so it really is fantastic. As you look ahead into the future for the Old Mutual Soweto Marathon, Tate Kuno, the chairman of the trust, joining us here. You mentioned going to 50,000, but also I'm sure you will have other items that you would like to incorporate or improve upon as we try and get to that 50,000 mark. One of those is influencing on the development of up-and-coming runners using this race. As you mentioned, in the past, in 1991, when this race started, they were the 10-kilometer development races for youngsters and 5-kilometer development races for youngsters, which ran alongside the 42-kilometer distance. Is that part of your thinking for the future of the Soweto Marathon, to involve the youngsters, the children, maybe not on race day, but in the week of the race, in some sort of development activities?
Well, that is the bigger plan of you know, the whole thing. Because without development, the sport of athletics would be doomed. So now what we have done, because we have about 20 clubs in Soweto, there is a program that Soweto clubs should adopt, you know, schools that are in and around their jurisdiction, for the sole reason of, you know, having athletics going back to school. You know, when we grew up, every Wednesday there was sports day. So we will be doing that, you know, as soon as we gather, you know, enough resources. So we are gathering enough resources, but as we speak, all the clubs are doing development, because we would know there is a fixture of Central Gauteng Athletics,
yes,
whereby you have track and field, cross country. Those are some of the students and the juniors that are developed by these Soweto clubs.
Excellent. And Tate Lokuno, thank you so much for talking to us here. And let's say hala shine for another successful 2019 Old Mutual Soweto Marathon. We look forward to 50,000 in 2020. And I was speaking to Sis Toby Le Shabalala of Old Mutual just a short while ago. She says she hopes that the president will be back again next year to do the 10Ks like he did last year. So we look forward to another successful race next year. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you very much. Again, thanking our sponsors for supporting us. We hope that they can carry us through, maybe for 3 to 5 years, so that we can realize, you know, the development that is so much spoken about.
Thank you so much. That's Silo Kuno. He is the chairman of the Soweto Marathon Trust. We will be back again after this with more runners completing the race. For now, we take a short break.
Thank you.
It's time to pass on my culture, to break new ground.
It's time to make a champion.
To make my mark.
It's time to fly. The great things you do tomorrow start with the small steps you take right now.
The time
is now.
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 The time is now.
It's time to take that step with Old Mutual.
The time is now to lace up your shoes and run the Old Mutual Soweto Marathon. That is the message, and that's the message that 40,000 runners heard. That is the call that 40,000 runners heeded today, running 10, 21 and 42 kilometers throughout the streets of Soweto. It's a hot day here, but the runners are in high spirits as we see more and more streaming across the finish line, running the 10 kilometers, running the 21 and running the 42. And there are some guys out from Eswatini coming all the way from Swaziland to finish the race, and some walkers as well. Some walkers as well just coming out to enjoy a healthy lifestyle. You see that t-shirt, that official race t-shirt, the yellow and green, dominant as runners get across the finish line here, enjoying what is a lovely day. Lots of festivities planned as well after the race for many of these runners who are waving at the camera and finishing now, because many of them will be hanging around their club tents outside the stadium. Bit of music on the go here as well, the DJ playing as they dance across the finish. People coming in all sorts of t-shirts from all the races they've done before. Magalakwena, that's from Limpopo, a club from Limpopo. And a lady having done the FNB 10 kilometer run, she's also coming across the finish there. Kaelicha, the Western Cape. And we see Eskom Kichimas. That used to be a club with a few elite athletes not too long ago. They are also coming across the finish. They are spent in the heat. Time for a selfie or two as well. And of course, the hashtag there being used on social media is Soweto Marathon. It is a lovely festive atmosphere as Standard Bank comes across the finish line there. And many wearing their buffs to protect them from the heat. Phobians all the way from Pretoria, not too far away here from where we are at the Calabash, the FNB Stadium, south of Johannesburg in South Africa, the city of gold. All ages as well, young and old, veterans wearing the 40 plus. And then there are the masters, grandmasters, all the way up to those who are even over 70 years old, running and walking the Old Mutual Soweto Marathon. They come through the tunnel and they head to the finish line. And this is where they know that the job is done. So far as the 42 kilometer distance is concerned, we see more and more runners coming across. These are the runners who are looking at about a sub 3:30 finish. This is still a very, very good effort for the conditions, running under 5.5 minutes per kilometer.
Okay, whilst we still got thousands and thousands of runners swarming in, remember 40,000 people who have entered this race, 10 kilometer half marathon and the marathon. It is time to just go and see how are your times, how does the registration work, how does the timing work, how do you get your time? So have a look at how this, how you register for the race and what happens with your results.
So basically the whole registration process starts with the online entries. We start opening entries in March of every year. Once entries open, we get quite a big flow of entries as a start, and then we pretty much sell out entries within 2 to 3 months. We're sold out. Okay. Once entries are sold out, we go through a process where we allow runners to either downgrade or upgrade, to do their substitutions, and once that's done, then we close entries, and ultimately that's the end of the entry process.
On day one, we had close to 10,000 people come through. That's roughly about 850 people per hour coming through the kiosk here. We peak at about 1,200 in an hour. Very busy first thing in the morning, so around about 10 to 1. Then it quietens down a bit, and then we pick up again around 6, 7 o'clock.
Once entries are closed, we then start the process of printing and allocating race numbers to individuals, the packing of race numbers, and it was understand we're doing 40,000 runners this year, so it took us 2 weeks to print and pack, and then we go through a quality process, and then we prepare for race day collection.
So from the time he walks through the door, if he's just got one entry, single entry, to get to the queue and through with a timing around about 2 minutes.
When you're entering online, you then give your estimated time that you believe you're going to do the race. And the real seeding there is to try put people running and starting with people of the same caliber, basically. And it really allows an easier flow. So if you've told us you can do the marathon in 4 hours, or it's between 4 hours and 4 hours and 30, you'll be batched with people of similar running speeds. And it really just helps the start to start off. On race morning, those pens will be open that you see from the side. So the whole race is timed mat to mat, and every runner will have a mat to mat time and a gun to mat time. But to win a race internationally or globally, you have to work on a gun to mat system. So when the gun goes, that's the starting time for the contenders, and when they cross the mat, that's their finish time.
And still they keep streaming in, and most of the people that you see coming in now are in the half marathon, and it's unbelievable to see just how many people are still crossing the line in this half marathon. It is the biggest entry, 15,000, but that's still a lot of people.
Yeah, and with any race and any distance, by far the majority of the field will finish in the last 30 to 40 minutes. So we really are now seeing the bulk of the 21k runners coming across the line as we approach the end of the half marathon. And when we get to the end of the marathon, you'll see the bulk of the runners will come in between 4.5 and 5.5 hours.
Well, the sport is certainly growing and healthy on the back end. What are we going to do to make it healthy on the front end?
I mean, look, as I said earlier, we've got good depth in this country. Like, I've always believed that if you just go to any random race on the weekend and you have people running 30 to 31 minutes for a 10K and 75 to 70 minutes for a half marathon, that is good depth. The key thing is, how do you step that depth up? It's getting runners into clubs, elite clubs, into camps. What Michael Sema is doing with Mukoka and them at the HPC, Henrik Ramala with the Zule group. We need more of those pockets of elite groups all around the country, because training in isolation, you need the competitiveness among the top athletes.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, that is really key. If we think back to the 1980s when I was growing up, there were a lot of big groups of people that used to train together, run together, race hard together. So that is the key. And I think, as with any system, the bigger your base is, the more likely you are to start getting these performances to pop through. So when we look at this, 40,000 people participating between 10, 21 and 42 kilometers. I mean, the road running in this country is very, very healthy, and that sort of participation creates the base to bring through the faster. What I would love to see is that filtering through to the track, and then our juniors staying on the track for a little bit longer. I'm a bit of a traditionalist in that I believe that your fast 5,000 and 10,000s will lead through to fast marathons. We've seen a bit of a trend away from that internationally as the people chase the money at the big city marathons, but I would still love to see more people on the track and staying on the track for longer.
And you mentioned the 5,000 and 10,000 meter rise. Two of the most dominant runners in the marathon today. Well, one is very dominant, the other is prodigiously so. Eliud Kipchoge and Kenenisa Bekele. Bekele is the world record holder for 5,000 and 10,000 meters, multiple cross-country world titles, the short course and long course, back when they did 2 races in 2 days, in the same day. And then you've got Kipchoge, who won the 5,000 meter world title when he was 19 years old, and he had a very strong track and cross-country career. Gabriel Selassie before them, running on the track, doing cross-country, that builds and you need that. If you jump ahead too soon, you're missing a grounding of competitiveness. Yes, the money is good, but you're seeing, I mean, Kipchoge has done things to the marathon that we wouldn't have thought a few years ago. But he had a 10-year career on the track and doing cross-country before moving up. Gabriel Selassie was competing from 1994 until 2003 before moving up to the track, as did Paul Turgat. And when those guys moved up to the marathon, they took the performance level to a different sphere. And it's actually the specialists who come and then feed off that.
No, I mean, that is exactly it, and that sums up what I'm talking about. Let's get our youth onto the track, running fast times, developing their speed. Let's keep them on the track, and we'll start to see the performances going in the longer races, the 10K on the road, the half marathon, and of course on the marathon distance. But yeah, I mean, again, just back to the focusing on these runners. Many people out there today doing either their first half marathon, first 10K, loads of novices doing their first marathon. So we're seeing a lot of people achieving something from a different perspective, and they'll go home tonight tired, sore, but really, really satisfied with having achieved the goal they've been working for months.
And you forgot sunburnt.
Yes, of course. We keep talking about how hot it is out there, but we haven't actually mentioned that, like, really, these oaks, I hope they've all put on a lot of suntan lotion.
And it really is blistering out there. Every half an hour that you're out there, it gets warmer and warmer and warmer. And I mean, these guys really are. This is what you come and see when you come and watch a marathon. Elite racing is fun, obviously, but this is the bread and butter of the running scene. Watching these guys come through, and as you said, they train. All of these guys are training, some for 12 weeks, 16 weeks. But you need to commit. Finishing a marathon, you can't wake up one day and be like, I'm going to go out and run 42 Ks. You need to commit yourself, usually building up through from a 10K to a half marathon and running a marathon. It takes a lot of time, a lot of commitment, a lot of equipment, going through running shoes. And all of these people finishing now must be really, really proud of themselves. This is quite an achievement.
Yeah, and of course in the rest of the world, if you finish a marathon, you basically become a hero in your local community. So I'll never forget finishing the Boston Marathon and getting back to the hotel where we were staying, and everyone stopped what they were doing and stood up and, clapped and applauded you, and they were like, well done. And for that whole week while we were on holiday, everywhere I was limping around, people like saying like, oh, well done, I can't believe it, did you run Boston Marathon? Wow, you're so amazing. And in South Africa, we had a marathon yesterday, we've got the Soweto Marathon today. A couple of these guys will run the RAC 32K in 3 weeks' time. So it's only in South Africa where people are like, a marathon, of course you can run a marathon. But it really is an incredible achievement to finish a marathon. We've got buses forming and bringing them across the line in a half marathon. And also that we haven't touched on it yet, but the spirit amongst these social runners as they're on the road, making new friends, interacting with new people. Of course, they'll be talking about the rugby that happened yesterday. Hopefully there's not too many Englishmen taking abuse in the half marathon field, but there'll be a very festive mood out there, people out on the road having a great Sunday.
Well, Tutu was saying earlier on that how many people didn't make it because of the festivities from yesterday. And of course, South Africa sorted out Brexit, didn't they?
But in all seriousness, though, this is, just watching this, I used to run a lot of races back when I was younger, but getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to come out and run a road race is getting a little bit harder these days. And you watch a scene like this and you think to yourself, I wish I could be down there. And it's always so magical coming out to a race, seeing all these masses and masses of people, finishing. And all of us train together out on the roads. Even if we're not running together, we're all out training. You see runners on the road, you wave. And there's a few guys here finishing the line a bit worse for wear.
Yeah, there we saw a great example of runners coming together. That's probably someone doing their first half marathon, being supported on either side by fellow runners. There's a gentleman I know, Sean Doherty. He's been training for the Soweto Marathon for a couple of months, and as you were saying earlier, a lot of people putting in a lot of effort. We're still seeing 10K runners come across the line, and I actually want to acknowledge those 10K walkers to be fair, but that's probably someone that hasn't done exercise for a really long time, and where the Soweto Marathon has been excellent. They go out in the communities. They've really been encouraging people to start running, take up running, and we're seeing a couple of examples of those people where a few months ago, if you told them you're going to do a 10K, they would have looked at you as if you were mad. So yeah, just really awesome to see so many people out today.
Well, you are the Soweto Marathon coach. How many people have approached you, and have you had any feedback? I know obviously the race is still on, but in the build-up, what's been the interaction? What's the interaction been like?
Look, it was really cool being at the expo this year and just runners coming through and saying thank you so much for your help. You've given us structure. You know, I didn't think I'd be able to run a 10 or a half or a marathon before, or coming up and saying, you know, I met you last year at the Soweto Marathon when I did the half marathon, and this year I've come back and I'm going to do the marathon. So, you know, that was going on for 3 days at the expo. Yeah, it's just really inspiring and motivating to know that you're helping so many people along to achieve their dream. And there are a lot of people that are running today that the marathon won't be the end, but there are also tons of people out there that they just wanted to do one marathon, and they believe that this is one of the iconic South African marathons. They want to be part of it. And yeah, that was just a really cool thing to be involved with at the expo the last 3 days, but actually really over the last 3 months, helping people prepare for the race.
What's been the most frequently asked question?
Can I do it, coach? Yeah, so, and then people all want to know what time they can run. I guess that's the second most asked question, and then everybody wants to know about the route, because they've obviously heard that it's a little bit scary in the last 8 kilometers.
Well, still masses and hordes coming in. It does seem to be thinning out a little bit, but I do expect we're going to see another bunch of people coming through very shortly.
Well, there should be the 4-hour bus for the marathon coming up, so that's going to be quite interesting. That's another so runners are obsessed about milestones, 3 hours, 4 hours. I mean, 4 hours is a seeding, again, for seeding purposes. I think that's E or D seeding.
Yeah, so the buses generally align themselves with this, as we remarked much earlier, around seeding for some of South Africa's other races, the Two Oceans and the Comrades Marathon, and those are generally sorted in 20 to 40 minute intervals. So we'll have sub 340. And then obviously on the hour marks, people are trying to break new territory, and they'll have pacing buses that'll take them through just under 3 or just under 4 hours, 4.5 hours, and then the big one, there'll be a massive 450 bus for people that then will earn the right to run some of these longer races by doing a qualifying race. They're just showing the start there on the feed. I got a fright. I thought that was people coming through for the finish.
Well, we're just quickly going to have a look at how the 10-kilometer unfolded this morning. A massive field, around about 13,000 or so in the 10-kilometer. It's one of the most popular events of the Soweto Marathon, and as you can quite clearly see, it's quite a big patch. But some of the better runners in South Africa, and the 10K runners were here in that 10-kilometer. Glenrose Traba came through to round off a very successful year, a phenomenal year. But here again, classic example of people coming out in their droves just to enjoy it.
And for a lot of these people, as Coach Perry said, this would have been their first race of any distance. And you come out here in a big crowd, it's inspiring. As a first race, you don't want to be out and isolated. So this massive group of runners going through. It took the back guys maybe 8 minutes to get through the start, which is absolutely incredible. But at the front end, it was a hot pace from the leading men and Glenrose Traba, capping off a phenomenal year.
Yeah, and you can see people got their phones out, taking selfies, making videos, sending it around the world. I mean, there just really is a great festive atmosphere around these races, and again we see Desmond coming through for the finish. We've spoken about it, really quick time today.
That was an absolute dominant performance by Desmond, almost a 2-minute victory. Sub 31 on this course. Obviously Doha, the World Marathon Champs, hasn't taken that much out of him,
which is impressive, because it wasn't as bad as the women's race, but the men's race was still run in tough nutritional conditions. But Desmond Mukhoba coming through the very short turnaround time of 4 weeks, running a phenomenal time, and winning by clear daylight.
Well, he won by a country mile, almost 2 minutes, and that'll also be the end of his season. He'll wrap it up a little bit, relax a bit, and then starts again for 2020 building up to the Olympics. And yeah, another good performance there by the rest of them coming in. A lot of them just over 31 minutes. And on this course, that's a pretty good time.
Yeah, and what I really found encouraging too is that we are seeing some of the more traditional clubs rather than only the so-called elite or pro clubs. And you know, we've got Fontana Athletics Club, Mavuli Matanga coming in second, and Samuel Malloy from Bedford View Country Club. So it's really awesome to see that our community clubs are also getting involved in developing this sport, and we're seeing winners not always coming from the handful of elite clubs.
Well, some people might be pulling out their checkbooks because it's next year coming up, having a look at the results. But yeah, definitely exciting to see a whole bunch of other athletes coming through the ranks. And I do believe that we are witnessing a little bit of a resurgence in our 10 kilometers, half marathon, and even in the marathon.
And club running is absolutely critical for that. Having a strong club culture feeds into your elite clubs as well, because you need to have somewhere to pull the talent from.
Yeah, and we again looking at Glen Rose. She was bent over into Glen Rose, the winner. We've spoken about her having a breakout this year, moving up to the longer distance. We have one of an international triathlete coming across the line in second place, but she was a good 550 meters behind Glen Rose, and Glen Rose a dominating performance in the 10K.
And then Lebo Palula coming through to round out the podium. And always consistent are the Palulas. They do love this race. They love running in Soweto. Glen Rose looked happy when she crossed the finish line. I wonder if it's a happiness that my season is done.
Well, hopefully our elite athletes are going to take a rest. And there we have the top 10 of the race, again highlighting Desmond's dominance there, winning by close to 30 seconds. That's pretty big at this level. And then some youngsters coming through, hopefully putting more pressure as we go through. First, the top 9 men getting pretty close to 32 minutes. This was a good race. Although there was a dominating performance, there was also a bit of depth pulling through behind them.
It's exciting to see, though, that of the top 10, only one is a foreigner, which means that, as we were talking, that there's this resurgence coming through. That just proves the point. Women's results, then dominant display there by Glen Rose Kaba. Her season is done and dusted. A really, really fantastic year. 69.45 for the half marathon. Third fastest, or only the third person to go under 70 minutes. Running a 10K PB on that, breaking her 10K PB in Durban, then going off to Valencia to run a 70-minute half marathon. This has got to be a phenomenal year for her.
And it puts her in good stead. The confidence I should have gotten from being able to go overseas and take on some of the world's best athletes would have done a lot of good for her.
And this then was the start of the 21-kilometer. Also a massive. In fact, the half marathon has the biggest, the largest contingent of runners, over 15,000, and it's the one that's been growing the most. Some big names in there, some great duels were expected, but Elroy Galan certainly a class apart in this race today, coming off a fantastic 2019 himself, did really well at the Cape Town Marathon, and that seems to have bolstered his confidence, and also he obviously is still very fit.
No, he is. I mean, Cape Town Marathon was about 6 or 7 weeks ago. But today, the way that Elroy Galan took the race on from the start, the rest of the guys just couldn't live with him. By 3Ks, he was on his own. By 12Ks, he had a good 30 or 40 second lead. And by the end, he was just all out on his own. And he went out really quickly. At 12Ks, he was under 3 minutes a K. So Elroy, and eventually finished in 64.53, an hour, 4 minutes and 53 seconds. And Joel Mahau from Nedbank finished second and almost a minute behind Elroy. It was a dominant performance.
So this is where the point where Elroy started to pull away. Pilani Butalezi also in there, also having a really good year, really good season. Lindsay, you've been with him now for just over a year, and he certainly has improved dramatically.
Yeah, he's had a really good year. We were aiming to go a little bit quicker today, but he said he was having some issues with his right glute cramping up and going through to his leg. But here you see Elroy. This was about 4Ks into the race where he had already had a really big gap, and he absolutely dominated them from the start to the finish. And I think we saw pretty much a world-class performance from him. Other guys had good days out, but that's the difference between good and world-class.
Well, Elroy has been saying he initially this year wanted to go and break 60 minutes for the half marathon. He still wants to go that route. I believe he's a sub 60-minute runner.
Absolutely. I mean, he's been pretty fast on the track, and Tutu and I were talking earlier about how important it is to have a track career, and he was pretty quick on the track. And yeah, I believe that he can definitely go under 60 minutes.
That's Namakwa Nkasi, also a very popular runner here in South Africa from Lesotho, and certainly given some of the South Africans a good run for their money. And here we go then, confirmation of those results. An absolute dominant display by Elroy Galant, winning by almost a minute over Joel Mahal. Namakwa Nkasi in third, and Pilani Buthelezi and Sibaba Gladwin Mzazi rounding out the top 5 there. Good run there by Pilani Buthelezi.
And Gladwin Mzazi is a consistent name in South African running, so good to see him back. But those are really, really solid results. The top 10 almost all under 70 minutes.
So the women's results there, not as good as the men's. 80 minutes, just under 81 minutes. We've seen fast on this course.
Yeah, so we didn't, I'd say out of all the races today, the women's 21 was probably, in terms of times, the slowest relative performances. Not going under 80. We typically see a winning time of between 76 and 78 here at Soweto. So yeah, for whatever reason, just not quite that same depth coming through in the half marathon for the ladies today. Sub 90 for 10. That's a respectable time, but you generally expect the top 10 to be coming in under 85 minutes at the half marathon. So yeah, but it was still pretty cool to watch. And it was another race that was a gun to tape win.
Well, we've just gone over the 4-hour cutoff mark in the marathon, and it's quite intriguing to see how sparse the field still is. And we're 4 hours into the race, and we've still got 2 hours to go.
I mean, as Coach Perry said, with the 6-hour cutoff, most of the runners will be coming in between 5 and 6 hours, and probably likely between 5 hours 30 and 6 hours. This is still on the faster end of the field, like broadly speaking. 4 hours, I think the global average is about 4:15 to 4:30 for men and women. So 4 hours is actually still on the faster end of marathon running for the recreational runner, that is. And these are still good times. I mean, these runners are running under 6 minutes a K, probably around 5.5 minutes a K, and you're doing that for 42 kilometers. That's pretty good going.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about the international athlete. In fact, the international races, the cutoffs are generally between 7.5 or 8 hours. So we really, in South Africa, we expect a lot of our guys.
Well, they are now becoming in their droves on the finish line. You can actually see the amount of runners. This is just outside the stadium, about a kilometer or so to go. And there's a lot of pain out there. There's a lot of, can I get this over? There's a lot of, can I get something to drink out there? A number of the athletes are already walking, and it's just over a kilometer to go. That must be the longest kilometer in their lives.
I think at this stage, a kilometer probably feels like 10 Ks. It's just your legs are sore, your body is sore, your mind is tired. And I mean, I've only run one marathon. It was many years ago, and I can tell you.
Are we picking up this conversation about the marathon again?
Well, since we are talking about marathon running, why not? But in the last little bit of Soweto is exceptionally difficult. So, I mean, you've been out for 40 kilometers, and you just want to see the end. You really do. Especially when you've been out for 4 hours, and now the sun is baking on your shoulders. It's really, really tough out there at this time.
Yeah, and that last kilometer is really tough if you've missed your goal. So there's two very different emotions when you get into that last kilometer and you can still achieve the target you set out for. You're positive, you're feeling good. And then there's that, I missed the 4 hour cutoff. And so that last kilometer is really difficult. But as soon as you get into the stadium and onto the carpet, you stop worrying about what your time is. You start to get really emotional because you're going to finish either your first marathon or another marathon. It becomes less important what time you did, and it's almost a mix of relief and excitement that you're finishing the race. But really the key is if you can get into that last K on target, it's much more exciting and much more fun to run.
no matter how hard that final kilometer is, whether it's an uphill or a downhill. So we're about to go down to the finish line where Musi Bodi has lined up a whole bunch of athletes. He's getting into the vibe there. You can see him dancing a jig, wearing a Springbok jersey. And Musi Bodi is now going to be catching up with a whole bunch of these runners.
Right, so these gentlemen have just completed the 2019 Old Mutual Soweto Marathon. Ibamela Pamajens! Ole! They have just completed the 2019 Old Mutual Soweto Marathon in 4 hours. 4 hours? 4 hours? 4 hours and 1 minute. And here's our bus driver. Let's start with him, the man wearing the FNB colors. Auti, your name?
Mpo Sekese.
Mpo, evaluation race.
Race prakanele mnati. Otherwise, vele keep back to back for now. Nobody gets a velo capsule. And so right, it was a recovery run. Yeah, today.
So he says he ran a marathon yesterday, Kapsowip, and he's here today for the Soweto Marathon. Here's another crazy man, back to back.
Yeah, yesterday I did Kapsowip. I got my personal best. So today I just came to chase sub 4. I think I slightly got it. I'll just check my med-to-med time. Thanks.
Okay. Here's another bus driver, the man from Run Zone. Run Zone is a new club that's been on the block for about 2-3 years, and they've grown tremendously under the leadership of Graham Block. Here's one of the Run Zone members. Your name, member?
My name is Puti, also known as Ashin Tuela, Executive Pass, all the way from Run Zone.
Ashin Tuela, Executive Pass. How was the run, Fanda?
Look, the run was fun, but tough as well. It took like more than your fitness level. It needs mental strength more than anything else. But the guys on the road were awesome. To everyone.
Let me talk to this man with the cheese cup who looks like Mr. T here. Because one thing I want to know, when it's hot like this, cheese cup, how was the heat?
Yo, my man, it was coaching out there. For me, it's my third attempt. I got a 5:30 the other year. I got a 5:15. This year, thanks to this man over here, I managed to get my first sub 4 hours.
Wow! Yay!
Thanks, my guy.
Yeah. Sub 4 hours. Sub 4 hours. They say see you in comrades. All right. Let's say one more.
My boys, Leo, come well at home, Philip Nel Park. Just boys, I finished. Good, thank you.
That's Spider-Man. And so we'll have more with more runners, gentlemen. Well done. We've got DK, we've got Sepang there from Run Zone. Hola, fele. Randburg, and runners from around the country that are doing their bit. Well done. Hola. The runners doing their bit. We're joined by a gentleman here who's 50 years old. No stress.
No stress, no problem, no cramps.
Nothing. Experience. This is what does it for him. Let's talk to a man who's coming from the West Rand, Panorama. They're used to the hills. How was the race?
Brilliant. Just over 4:04. Best time ever. It's really tough, but I'm very proud of what I did. Great one.
And your name, sir?
Andrew.
Andrew from Panorama?
Yes.
Is this your first Soweto, second?
Fourth one, I think. Yeah.
Why do you keep coming back?
Just love it. Yeah, it's a great vibe, great support, great, just everything.
Well done, good run.
Thanks, man, appreciate it.
Thank you. That's Andrew from Panorama out in the West Rand, running 4:04. Another gentleman here from the police. Eta,
how are you?
Well, and you? Name, Abuti?
Tony Muja from Limpopo.
Manna Limpopo, Fitle Soweto, Gitima Soweto. How was your race?
The race was pretty challenging, but it was not that easy because it's my second race. But I think next year I will come very strong. I want to make sub 3 hours. Now it was very tough.
So this year next year sub 3. He says he's going to train in Mpumalanga. He's going to train hard for the race. He's going to train hard for the race in Mpumalanga, and he'll be back next year to run sub 3 hours, having run 4 hours. The gentleman from the SAPS. Another one here. Your name, my brother?
Emmanuel Manugeni.
Emmanuel, where are you from?
I'm from Cosmo City.
How was your race?
No, it was good, but the problem, I was having problem after 24 kilometers with the muscle pull.
Okay.
Yeah, I ran so hard from here because I was decided to do maybe sub 3 or 3.5 hours. But now,
over 4.
Yeah, over 4.
Hey, it was tough.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough.
So you have to train and come back next year?
I'll come back next year. Okay. I'll do that. I'll do that.
Well done, well done. Well done for finishing.
Okay, thanks for Soweto Marathon.
Keep
well.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Was Disbusiso of Hollywood Bets. Of course, Hollywood Bets has the African finisher at this year's 2019 Old Mutual Soweto Marathon. Umfo Gapagati in Indi, so lives and trains here in Soweto, finishing in 8th place as the first South African finisher in the men's race. But here's another Hollywood Bets athlete. Spuda, where are you from, my brother?
Pietermaritzburg, KZN.
Kamugale, Kakasin.
Yeah.
How was your race?
It was great. It was my first 42.
First 42?
Yeah.
Waketi Soweto?
Yeah, I chose Soweto. Yeah, everyone wants to run Soweto, so I said, hey, let me try it. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Looking forward to next year.
So you'll be back again next year. Hola. As the guys from DK, he's asking me why I didn't run. Gaspana, I'm working here. Let's speak to a lady. Your name, my sister?
I'm Hilda Ramakwera.
Hilda Ramakwera, where are you from?
I'm from Mangau. I'm original from Venda, but I reside in Mangau, so I run for the Mangau club.
So you've come all the way from Bloemfontein to take part in the Soweto Marathon. Why?
I wanted a challenge because I've done a sub 4 before. For now, I wanted a challenge, but trust me, this was hard.
So you missed your sub 4 here, just, huh?
But I still have it. I still have it for Sanlam.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about qualification for the ultras and comrades and 2 Oceans, all of that.
I'm done with it. I'm done. This was just like a training.
But you look fresh, like you can do another lap. The makeup is still fresh, huh?
Yeah,